Welcome back to Geek Classic and welcome to my Star Wars series, my beautiful geekies. Today is a very special day. I am reviewing the worst Star Wars movie ever made, and I am not alone. I have brought someone to suffer along with me, so why don't you present yourself, sir? Zach Pope.
Yeah, man, thanks for letting me suffer watching this film. Thanks for having me also on your channel, dude. I love your channel, and I'm kind of excited to talk about one of the worst Star Wars movies. And it's also good to kind of vent about our problems with this film because there's a lot of them. And there's some redeeming qualities, I guess.
Absolutely, man. I love your channel as well. I couldn't wait to have you here. I want to have you here more. I want people to watch this. I'll leave links for Zach's YouTube channel and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Wherever he wants to be on, I'll leave links for it in the description below. So, Zach, are you ready to vent about Attack of the Clones?
Yeah, let's vent because this film has like infested my head and the whole there's so much I need to vent about, man. So why don't you get us started?
So Attack of the Clones takes place 10 years after The Phantom Menace when Anakin and Obi-Wan return to Coruscant at the same time Padme does, and she is a victim of an assassination attempt. So now Obi-Wan and Anakin are assigned on a mission to protect her. Anakin and Padme are sent to Naboo for her protection, while Obi-Wan investigates a mysterious clone army created for the Jedi.
So, the most part of this film, I mean, you hear that description, and you're like, man, this could be pretty cool. Some Assassins elements in there, some mystery thriller in there. You know, it's different from the Star Wars movies. But in reality, this is a Romeo and Juliet film. And it's directed by George Lucas, written by George Lucas, and you have some of the worst dialogue in here and one of the worst on-screen chemistries you've ever seen. You find that because the majority of this film is Anakin and Padme fucking around. You heard that right, fucking around.
Oh yes, you're absolutely right. And the biggest problem is you don't see none of the fucking. In fact, you only see the dialogue parts.
From the moment I met you, all those years ago, not a day has gone by when I haven't thought of you. And now that I'm with you again, I'm in agony. The closer I get to you, the worse it gets. The thought of not being with you, I can't breathe. I'm haunted by the kiss that you should never have given me. My heart is beating, hoping that that kiss will not become a scar.
Which absolutely sucks, because as you said, it's written by George Lucas, and so George Lucas, he has line writing in this, such as the famous "I hate sand." What do you have to say about this one, Zach?
I hate George Lucas for making this film, but I also love him at the same time, and I also, like you saying that, it'd be pretty intriguing to see George Lucas make a sex scene in Star Wars. Like, I'm just putting that out there. I think that'd be a really funny scene to have in there. But really, like, this film, like, I mean, you say that line, my whole thing is, dude, I was about to make a drinking game out of this game about every time Natalie Portman said, Annie, 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 and the creepy ass looks Anakin gives to her. I wouldn't want to sleep with this dude. If you kept giving me weird looks like that, I'm just gonna run away in the opposite direction.
I'm actually going to steal something you said, and that is that Anakin in this film, he's totally Jeffrey Dahmering it, because just the looks, the lingering looks that he gives to Padme in this film, and how uncomfortably close he stands next to her silently is so icky, even to me, who is just watching a film, is extremely irritating. And it's extremely irritating as well how Anakin in this film is a big whiny teenage boy. Because in this film, it's supposed to be Anakin's transformation to the dark side. And he's on his teenage years, which would actually work. He has his hormones and all his emotions rumbling on high, all on fire in his head, in his heart, in his veins. Everything is pumping out at full force, no pun intended. And you have this kid who is constantly complaining about Obi-Wan not letting him do this and always prohibiting him for doing that. It just doesn't work because, again, of George Lucas's dialogue.
Obi-Wan should have just killed him right then and there. It would have saved a lot of people a lot of time. But obviously he couldn't because canon. Somewhat. if it actually fits without the plot holes. But yeah, you're right. Like, Anakin is this whiny little bitch. Like, dude, I get it. You're a teenager, but you have some of the coolest powers. If I was in your shoes, I would be like hailing it. I wouldn't be bringing an apple to my hand. Like, I'd be picking up the girl and sweeping her over to me. That's how you win a girl over, and Anakin doesn't do that. Because I'm going to get really close to my mic, and I'm going to start breathing like this. That's probably what Natalie Portman felt in her ear the whole time Anakin was on screen.
You would guess that she was feeling that way, but actually she isn't, because when you go to Naboo, every scene that goes on there, and Anakin is doing these stupid things like picking up an apple with a force and pushing it towards her, and it's like, oh my god, so impressive, an apple. And every scene, Padme's outfits constantly and increasingly and progressively get more revealing. I mean, she wants that Jedi penis so much. It's irritating. As equally as irritating as Anakin being the brat that he is.
I mean, if I found out a girl that I knew was a Jedi, I mean, I would probably want her too. But, you know, it's just like, I don't get how many costume changes she had to go, especially when it was in, like, the same fucking day. Like, do you need a outfit for your date and then for you to go play outside and then for you also to sleep in, because you gotta look sexy when you're sleeping, right? This one part dragged down the film so much. But you did say one redeeming quality a little bit ago, not about the romance, but about Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, he's fantastic in here. Like, Ewan McGregor is just, he was perfect as Obi-Wan, and he might be a little too happy per se throughout this thing, but I love Obi-Wan.
Well, the only explanation I can find for that is that Obi-Wan took some death sticks behind camera without us knowing.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
He is so friggin' jolly in this film. He's a pun machine throughout this film. He is so happy here. I love Obi-Wan's attitude in here. And as you said, another redeeming quality is the glimpses that we actually have at Obi-Wan and Anakin working as a pair. Yes, Anakin is a complete brat, but when they are actually talking, conversing with each other, actually listening to what each other has to say to one another, it actually works for me. That is one of the few glimpses I see of chemistry between actors in this film.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Especially if you've ever seen the Clone Wars show, you get a lot more glimpses of that. And I feel like if someone else would have taken on this film, I feel like even the romance aspect would have worked a little bit better, or if someone would have written the script instead. Because the thing about this film is that, yeah, that chemistry is weird and stuff, but sometimes it's just the direction and the writing there, and it really comes down to that. But you are true, because that is the small glimpse of hope in this film. Obi-Wan and Anakin, when they're working together, whether it be in the action sequences or when they're investigating stuff, it's great. They have really good banter back and forth, and that's kind of the small glimpses I can actually kind of praise Hayden Christensen for when he tried. But even at the same time, sometimes he ruined that, especially when Padme was in the room.
And since we're talking about Padme and Anakin, before we move on to the story itself, let's already talk about another, to me at least, redeeming quality of this film, and that is when Anakin finds out that his mother is kidnapped because he has started to have some nightmares for some reason, because George Lucas, and they go to Tatooine, and Anakin finds his mother on the Tusken Raider encampment. He finds out that she's dead, and in all his rage, he kills the Tusken Raiders. Not just the men, but the women and children too. And those scenes, along with the confession scene to a point, does really work for me. It's one of those scenes where I can see Hayden Christensen, as you said, Zach, trying and actually accomplishing something until the moments where he actually has to talk.
Yeah, no, you actually see it in his face. And again, maybe it's just the dialogue. Maybe someone should have told George Lucas, hey, do I actually have to read this? Like, do I really have to read this line? But, you know, you do see it in his face there, especially when his mother dies and he takes out all the Tusken Raiders. But you did say one thing. You said Jedis, they don't have nightmares. Remember that. Because that's another one of the worst lines in this movie. When it does come to that point, it works really well.
Yeah, it does. As I said, even the confession scene where he's just mad and annoyed at everything, that works. Even for that teenager with the hormones on fire thing I talked about earlier, just when he has to read those damn lines, it takes all the tension away. But one thing that does help, not only these couple of scenes, but the movie throughout, that we forgot to mention so far, is the score by John Williams, which is masterful as always.
Yeah, you can't talk not about Star Wars without talking about the score. I mean, every single Star Wars movie has the epitome one of the amazing scores. Like, you can always re-listen to these scores and just love them. And John Williams blew it out of the park, especially in those horrible scenes.
Couldn't agree more, and John Williams just makes these Star Wars movies not be complete trash. And he helps all the prequels, in my opinion, but especially this one, it really stands out. But getting back to the story, this film starts with Obi-Wan and Anakin in Padme's apartment, and Zach, why don't you talk about the worms?
Oh yeah, the cute little worms that just kind of slither, you know. Jango Fett sends someone else to send 2 little worms into a bedding. You know, Jango Fett then eventually later on assassinates this person. It's not like he could have just shot Padme through the window and gotten rid of a ton of things. Could have gotten rid of the whole Romeo and Juliet type shit right there. Just totally done. But no, we have to have her because she has to give birth to 2 of the best characters in Star Wars lore. Those worms, like, I guess the CGI is cool for them, but how did Anakin and Obi-Wan not feel their presence until they got super close to her? It's like George Lucas kind of wanted to have like a human centipede type thing in here.
I mean, the only reason is either that of the human centipede thing, or he just knew how badly this movie would be received by audiences and critics, that he just wanted to give us a pretty entertaining car chase sequence in which they go after that stupid bounty hunter and Anakin just jumps off the car to the streets of Coruscant. And I'm sorry, even for a Jedi, that is a height from which you would die if you fell from that. And Obi-Wan has this cute little line of,
I hate it when he does that.
so I guess Anakin jumps off cars a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we've never seen him jump off a car before. Maybe he's talking about when he was younger, you know, because still, I forgot to say this back in there, but for some reason their age difference with Padme and Anakin works, but that's something else. But yeah, that car scene works for the most part. Feels some of the tension, but that's because of John Williams' score. When people start talking, it doesn't really work. But yeah, Obi-Wan has his puns, of course. Anakin jumps from a car, and he's apparently the freaking Captain America, being able to hold on and be able to withstand all this, you know? I get it, you're a Jedi. But come on now.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. Just as stupid as then Jango Fett, as you said, being there and kills that bounty hunter, and you're like, why didn't you kill her yourself? You're supposed to be the best of the bounty hunters. And you're risking even more by being there surveilling that one bounty hunter you sent. Then Obi-Wan, because of that, he goes searching after Jango Fett. And this whole sequence of him interviewing aliens and going to the Jedi archives, he just gets information so conveniently in this film. It's just the first hint at how full of holes this story section alone is.
Yeah, when exposition hits in this film, it hits hard and does not work that well, because it just starts hitting plot holes after plot holes after plot holes. And then, I mean, you even talk about when Obi-Wan's talking to Yoda. The lip syncing for Yoda isn't even there. So it's like someone was making the film, they're like, I hate this film already. No one's going to pay attention to that. But I'm paying attention to that. I feel like George Lucas had to have Obi-Wan talk to an alien. Why couldn't Obi-Wan have just kind of like gone and looked around, maybe talk to someone in the Capitol or something? Like, why wasn't he just talking there? Why did he have to go to a little diner to go talk to an alien that we've never met before and we never will see again? But for some reason, there had to make toys. Oh yeah, that's probably why. Toys.
It's Batman and Robin all over again, kids. And now it's coming from George Lucas. So eventually Obi-Wan very conveniently finds out the planet of Kamino, which was never heard from before, but he gets there and he finds this huge factory of clones, which nobody had ever heard of, and they were ordered by Master Sifo Dyas. Here's the problem, kids. 3 things. How was this huge factory and the fact that it was on this planet such a big secret? Who is Master Sifo Dyas? Because it's never explained in this film. Never! And third, these beings, which actually look pretty cool, they say that they are expecting Obi-Wan once he gets there. How? He just found out about the planet entirely. Zach, help me.
Dude, I can't help you because it's the same thing. I was just about to say the same thing. Yes, the aliens are really cool. Like, I actually really like those aliens. I used to have a toy of one of them. Pretty cool fact there. But yeah, why did they know he was coming? And whose Master Sifo-D is? I don't know. I can't tell you because nowhere in Star Wars lore have I ever looked this up. So if you guys know, comment down below and tell us who is he. And then, yeah, how does no one know what Clone Army is built? I mean, we can even talk about the last ending fight action scene. Why does Yoda go and get the Clone Army? That no one knows who ordered it. And then you're just like, okay, we're just going to use him. But no one knew about the Clone Army, right?
Yeah, the thing is, I'm pretty thankful that we get action at all in this film, but yeah, why would Yoda trust these clones that he doesn't even know who ordered them? It doesn't make sense at all.
Usually Star Wars has logic, but this film doesn't carry any of that logic. They just had to have the clones somehow show up. There would have been more logical ways to place them in here.
I couldn't agree more, man. It just baffles me, but we still have a lot to get through, and we still got a lot of holes to poke at. Eventually, a fight, which is a pretty cool one, ensues between Jango and Obi-Wan. And I said it's pretty cool. It's not pretty cool, but it's pretty entertaining because of how laughable it is, because Obi-Wan doesn't get a scratch in this fight scene. Obi-Wan's clothes don't get a hole or get burnt or anything. There's actually one shot where Jango shoots at him and you see the explosion hitting the ground, and you can see Ewan McGregor actually jumping on. You can see him flexing his legs and jumping off screen when he gets that explosion.
Yeah, it's an entertaining fight scene. Some scenes of tension in here. But yeah, you're right. It takes away all that tension. And it's just laughable at the point when you're like, Obi-Wan, you don't have a single scratch on you. Your clothes aren't really ripped up at all, man. Like, I mean, you even look at the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. When someone gets hurt, they get hurt, and you see some cuts in their shirts and stuff. Like, Obi-Wan, like, unless you have some magic tunic that Doctor Strange gave you, I think you're gonna get some cuts there, man. And then that fire scene, man. Oh my god. That is one, like, I could even make that. I could literally make the fire explosion and me jumping out of it. Like, it's so bad. And the fire didn't even look real. The explosion didn't even look realistic.
No, it did not, and it hurt my eyes. It almost made me cry. It just didn't make me cry because another scene eventually in this film made me cry. But until we get to the crying part... So eventually, Obi-Wan chases Jango Fett into Geonosis, where he eventually encounters Count Dooku, the first real Dark Lord of this franchise, because we're actually hiding Palpatine away. And he's supposed to be this very scary, very menacing Dark Lord of the Sith. But his first scene in this film is him sitting at a meeting and politely talking to the other separatists. And I mean, not even Mon Mothma and the other rebels are this friggin' polite. Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, has got to be the most polite character in Star Wars.
Yeah, Count Dooku is supposed to be scary, and he's literally one of the most polite. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, all of our heroes in the original trilogy are more rude than Dooku is, which is really funny to think of. And even Anakin's more rude. Like, come on. This scene, again, one of the scenes where everything just falls into Obi-Wan's ears. He just happens to walk in when they're all talking. Yeah, Dooku's great. Like, I love the actor who plays him. But yeah, he's a little bit too polite, like you're saying, and just kind of takes away from the tension. And it's just really... we have to have that.
Dooku captures Obi-Wan. He easily finds out that Obi-Wan is there. And when he does, and tells him about the plan that he has with the Separatists, Obi-Wan is like, my masters at the Jedi Council are going to find out about everything you're doing. And so this takes me back, Zach, to a scene in the beginning of the film where Padme tells Mace Windu that she thinks Count Dooku is behind her assassination attempt. And Mace Windu says this.
You know, milady, Count Dooku was once a Jedi. He couldn't assassinate anyone. It's not in his character.
And now Obi-Wan is saying that Mace Windu and the others who are still fucking sitting around doing nothing are going to find out. Why? How? Explain! George Lucas, you're melting my brain.
First, are you really surprised that they're always sitting around? I mean, did you not see The Phantom Menace? How much fucking sitting around was in that film? The prequels are a lot of just sitting, waiting for shit to happen. And this film continues that. And a lot of bad dialogue, a lot of them saying a lot of stupid things, and a lot of things that really just, it's just exposition heavy. Like, I'm literally getting thrown more exposition in this film than even in an Oscar-worthy film.
Oh, you're not wrong there. I mean, it's hard to find exposition in good films. It's not that it's not there. It's there. The challenge is to find it. That's when you have good exposition. But the biggest problem with Attack of the Clones, and even Phantom Menace if we want to go back to that for some reason, is that it's not even exposition. It's nothing. They're not advancing the story. They're not saying something that's going to be meaningful to the story. They're saying stupid random stuff. Then we have two very, very, very painful scenes. First one is Padme telling Anakin,
I truly, deeply love you.
It still hurts just saying it.
It hurts my eyes and head and everything even thinking about the scene. And when I watched it, that was the cringiest scene I've ever watched.
After this, as if it wasn't enough to get the I truly deeply lovely line, we get a very rare appearance, but still an appearance, from Jar Jar Binks. Wait for it, this is not the worst part. He is now a part of the Senate. And he basically in this film hands over power to Palpatine. I give up.
So Jar Jar pretty much started the Empire. Hashtag fuck you, Jar Jar.
You see, it wasn't enough for George Lucas to give us Jar Jar and to make us hate Jar Jar. He had to give us a reason for trying to make us love Jar Jar, because basically Jar Jar is responsible for the original trilogy.
I guess that's the only positive for Jar Jar Binks. Like, the first movie, Jar Jar Binks is horrible. Then the second one, I feel like George Lucas sees that and he's like, well, I want them to hate him more. I don't even want them to like him. And you did it. You fucking did it. Can I say, when Jar Jar Binks runs up and hugs Obi-Wan and just ignores Anakin.
Oh, yes. Oh my god, I completely forgot about that. That works because, again, Obi-Wan is so freaking happy throughout this film. We're about to getting into a scene where he should really be desperate, but it actually works for him to be happy. Anakin, Padme, they go and try to rescue Obi-Wan. They are eventually captured, and they are all three tied to these huge pillars at a gladiatorial arena in Geonosis, about to be executed. And Obi-Wan is just throwing puns at people and catching up with Anakin, and I love every single line that comes out of his mouth.
That is one of the funniest scenes in my opinion. It's just so grand.
Oh yeah, but you know who finally shows up before the actual clones? The fucking Jedi. The Jedi army comes in, swinging their lightsabers around like motherfuckers. See what I did there? And they destroy the droids and save everyone. I love it. I shouldn't love it. It's not good enough filmmaking wise for me to love it, but I love it because it's the first element of the prequels to me that is worthy of the name Star Wars.
Yeah, this starts to dive into the category of guilty pleasure, where if this movie was all like that, this could have easily just been a guilty pleasure Star Wars film. But it's not, because it's horrible in the other parts. But yes, like you said, this is one of the more better scenes, because we actually get some action. Later on in this, maybe we'll start talking about some of the clones, which the title of this movie is Attack of the Clones. But they don't show up till the last 15-20 minutes.
It's absolutely great. It's basically one of those things that you can just finally relax and feel relieved because you're just getting something that is good enough, but because of the horribleness that preceded it, you're just over the moon about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, because this is something that when the prequels got announced, this is what everyone wanted. We wanted to see the Jedi Order. We want to see all these different Jedis. I mean, you get Kit Fisto, who's finally not sitting around. He's doing some kick-ass shit, and Kit Fisto is one of those characters where I'm like, I love the look of you, and I want to see more of you. And you get all of that in here. Yeah, it's stupid how Jango Fett dies by Mace Windu. It's dumb how fast he dies because Obi-Wan did so much damage him and he couldn't die from there, but Mace Windu's just, oh, your head's gone, that's it. But yes, we finally get some action. You saying some motherfuckers right there when they're whipping their lightsabers around, kicking some ass. It's great, and you feel some tension in there. Even though it's not filmed perfectly, it is really fun to watch. And maybe it's just because the movie was horrible, maybe we're finally happy that we're getting some action. It's great. It's a grand sequence, and it's just one of those sequences that I wish we got more of in the prequels. That's why I wish Star Wars now would kind of push back and film a spin-off film in this era, but not revolving around these, but seeing some other Jedi Knights.
But eventually, Count Dooku tries to escape. Obi-Wan and Anakin go after him. We have, what to me at least, is a pretty boring fight sequence because it's just this over and over and over again until... Why don't you present what follows, Zach? Because it's pretty awesome.
Well, let me just show you. He's right here. Just bobbling his head. Yoda. When Yoda pops in, my friends, because that whole fight scene before, I mean, they're just back and forth. Back and forth. It's like, this dude's an old fucker. Like, just take him out, Obi. Then Anakin loses his hand, and there's no emotion in Hayden Christensen's face again. It's like, you just lost your fucking hand. I would be screaming in pain. I mean, that's what Luke did. Didn't you watch Star Wars before? But yes, Yoda comes in, starts using the Force, pushing them away, pulls out his little lightsaber, and just goes to town on Dooku. Flipping in shits. This dude is like in the X Games with all of his gymnastics and stuff, and he's just powering through. Yoda is a badass in this sequence.
He absolutely is. And to the people that do not like Yoda fighting, I'll say this. Despite Yoda saying that the Force is about the mind, not the muscle in Empire Strikes Back, that doesn't mean that he won't use it when it's necessary. And when you have the Sith trying to re-emerge once more, it will be done.
Yeah, I mean, like, even though, like, I get it, the Jedis are more trying to be verbal. They don't want to pull out their lightsabers, but sometimes they have to, and this is one of the sequences that you have to. And I get it, some people don't like that, they don't want to see Yoda flipping and shit, but honestly, and I have to say this, the CGI actually still pretty much holds up for that, and Yoda still looks really well done.
I do really enjoy how Yoda looks. I do really enjoy some of the CGI aspects of this film, but what I don't enjoy is what follows, because to me the Clone Army, when you have that panning wide shot and you see the whole army coming out of the ships and forming and be ready for battle, it just looks like those early 2000s Don Bluth CGI cartoons like Titan AE, and it just doesn't hold up very well. It's not like trash CGI, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, compared to Battlefield Earth, it's an Oscar winner, but it just doesn't stand out.
Yeah, no, I think this is the one part where you and me disagree. I actually think they look pretty still decent, but maybe it's just because this movie sucks that I'm looking at some of the minor positives. I actually like the Clone Army. I like how the feel and look it is, and like I said, maybe it's just because we're finally getting some war in here. Some attacking of the clones, which right here, if you look at the title, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, that's what we were promised, and we got a love story. Yeah.
And the title is actually a lie if you really look at it, because the clones don't attack. The clones counterattack.
So should it have been Counterattack of the Clones? Maybe. Who knows? But it is a catchy name, I guess. But yeah, this is easily one of the worst Star Wars films in the franchise. It holds up at parts, but it's just, I would say if you're rewatching them, you just skip over this one.
This film is that alcoholic drunkle who only comes over for the holidays, but he's still family. I still enjoy Obi-Wan and Anakin in this film. I enjoy the scenes involving Anakin's nightmares and his mother's death. I enjoy the hell out of Christopher Lee. I enjoy the hell out of the Jedi battle and the Yoda fighting. And I enjoy Obi-Wan's jolly attitude in this film. The cons of this film are really the most of it. The main storyline with the love scenes between Anakin and Padme, the over-reliance on CGI, and just the plot holes that you can poke at this story.
Yeah, and like you said, yes, the positives between Anakin and Obi are fantastic. Count Dooku is great, even though he's sitting down a lot. Jar Jar Binks is shit. The romance is horrible. But like you said, those nightmare sequences when he's dealing with his mother's death and he's not having to talk about his nightmares or open his mouth about what he did to the Tusken Raiders, it's all great. Yoda fighting is fantastic. Seeing some action here is great, even though some of it can be pretty laughable. It's all good. Except that romance, which really boggles down this movie, because this really doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie at times, and that sucks. It feels like a parody at times. I mean, this literally could have been a parody porno if there was just some sex scenes. And thank God there wasn't, because I don't want to see George Lucas make a scene like that. Well, maybe I would, because it would be pretty funny.
I absolutely agree with you, Zach. This movie does have a pretty cringy scene with Jar Jar, but it's overall less Jar Jar, and because of that, I will still say that Attack of the Clones made me feel like Clark Gable. I don't care about it, but I can't say it's trash. How are you rating this, Zach?
So if I had to rate Attack of the Clones, like you and me just talking about it, I had it a little bit higher when I watched it, but now just talking about it more, it just pisses me off. I would have to give it a C-.
It's done now. We have sat through Attack the Clones, we have vented about it, and we are finally free to move on to the best prequel of them all, and then truly Star Wars before Last Jedi comes out. Zach, once more, thank you so much for joining me on this awesome review, much more awesome than the movie. Where can the good geeky community find you?
Well, all you geekies, you guys can find me at Zach Pope. That's my YouTube channel. I also have Xandria Studios, which is another one I kind of do to the side just for some short films that I come up with ideas. But you guys can always reach out to me on Facebook as well at Zach Pope. I'm always in the geeky community, and as well on Twitter at Pope the King. I do tons of reviews, rankings, and trailer reactions. That's what I do on my channel. All you geeks will love it over here as well. And thank you, man, so much for having me. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this. I know we've been planning and trying to figure out something for a while, but I'm just blessed to finally be over on your channel. And make sure, guys, to look out after The Last Jedi, because me and him, we're going to have something really special, another Star Wars video over on my channel, and this will be tons of fun to talk about.
Oh, it's going to be truly special. The Force will be with us on that one, absolutely. I hope the Force is with you, geekies. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. This week, reviews for Revenge of the Sith, Bad Moms Christmas, Breathe, and many others. So until then, you stay beautiful, you stay geeky, and if you haven't done so yet, click the subscribe button and the bell so we can be geeky united!